Steve Baker, investigative journalist, Blaze News opinion contributor, and a guy who almost went to jail for just covering January 6th. Welcome, Steve. How are you?
It's good to be back.
How is it to have that monkey off your back?
Well, I did not realize how heavy of a burden that was.
Crazy, right?
Because I lived with that for over 3 years, and then even after the arrest, I didn't realize the stress levels that I was living under until as it began to slowly lift over. It took about a week before I felt normal again.
Yeah.
I just didn't know it was there.
Yeah, it's weird.
I began to live with it.
I go to my doctor all the time. My wife usually will come with me, and he'll say, "How's your stress level?" I go, "It's fine." And she'll look at him and go, "No, it's not. No, it's not." But you live under it for so long, and until you get away from it, you have no idea. I can't imagine what that stress was like. Yeah. Let's switch subjects. You have a new Blaze News exclusive out. Nancy Pelosi had a FIXER at the Capitol on January 6th. This will just piss you off. But it pissed me off for a couple of reasons. One, it is so evil. But the second thing is I looked for these people during Occupy Wall Street.
Right.
We were looking for and this guy never came up on our radar as connected to anything. And now, in retrospect, you're showing how connected he is. And it's all this USAID kind of crap.
Right.
Who is he and what did he do?
Well, first of all, he was one of the principal organizers of Occupy Wall Street, which is amazing that he doesn't come up. Now, we can go back in retrospect and we can find him. We can find YouTube videos of him speaking and doing speeches.
I'm sure we covered him, but we had no idea who he was.
No idea who he was. And fortunately for us, you have a connection, which we can't get really deep into, but you were on this,
back then.
Before Occupy Wall Street. You were on this story 15, 17 years ago back at Fox. And it was because of that connection that someone came to me because he's a fan of yours.
And I didn't even know. By the way, hopefully I get to talk to this guy at one point. You're not going to believe. You're not going to believe this because you came to me a few weeks ago and said, I have a story coming out and I want you to know it's because I was like, shut up. I mean, it is an amazing whistleblower. Thank you for everything that you have done in the past, and thank you for this.
And as a result of that, he came forward and he said, well, let me just reset the stage just a little bit here. When Joe Hanneman and I were assigned to do the first stories on the assassination attempt on July 13th at Butler, PA, well, when we revealed in that story that Thomas Crooks, the shooter, our sources said, that are in the intelligence community and special ops, so they were all saying, now this kid was groomed. We recognize our handiwork. This is what we do overseas. So suddenly I get this call or a private message from a guy saying, yeah, great story, by the way. I really appreciate it. And by the way, I think you got it right. Well, okay, thank you for telling me that. Yeah. Who are you? Well, then he started revealing who he was, and then I started vetting and finding out that he really was who he said he was. And what he said to me was, yeah, I recognize my handiwork in Thomas Crooks. And so we started the process of sharing things, developing a relationship, and then one day, as our relationship is growing, he says, oh, by the way, I have a couple of names to give you if you really want to know what happened on January 6th. And one of those names is Aaron Black.
This is the story, exclusive story on theblaze.com right now. The Nancy Pelosi had a FIXER at the Capitol on January 6th. That's what you search for. That's what's there now at theblaze.com. Go ahead. Now tell the story.
So what ended up happening was I started doing what you're supposed to do. I started looking at him. The more I did, the more interesting he got. The more research I did, the more people I had to bring in because this guy's dark, and we had to go and actually scrape the dark web for him. He's good at cleaning out his trail. The one thing that he couldn't clean out was that there were some Project Veritas videos out there from 2016 where he was caught in one of their stings actually admitting to the fact that he and his guys were responsible for the violence at a Donald Trump rally in 2016, March, I think it was, early in the campaign, in which they had actually canceled the rally because not only was there violence outside, they had over 100 of their people infiltrated inside in a project they call bird dogging, which is they get old ladies there early in the morning at 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock in the morning to get in line first with their posters in their placards inside their bags. And then they'll get up either on the stage or on the front row. They'll open those anti-Trump posters and things and then get the men, the MAGA guys, irritated and hopefully violent. That's what it's called. And it's called bird dogging. And so this is what this guy has been an expert at, that is creating these types of situations throughout his entire career. From Occupy Wall Street, all of a sudden he shows up on the radar again in 2016 in a couple of very specific events, and then he goes silent again, and then all of a sudden he reemerges as quote-unquote senior political advisor at Team Pelosi.
So I just want you to get your arms around this here for a second. What this guy is doing is what we showed you our State Department through USAID was doing all over South America and Europe. We told you, I did a chalkboard on this just, I don't even know, 6 years ago. We'll have to look for it. This chalkboard laid this all out and showed how this money was being used and how Barack Obama started with the Arab Spring to teach how to overthrow governments. And then they kept doing it all across Libya, then Syria. Then we went into Ukraine and elsewhere. We went into South America. This is what they were perfecting, these color revolutions, paid for by your tax dollars. And I told you about 5 or 6 years ago, I think they're doing this to America. I think that's what's happening here. Well, yes, this is the guy.
Exactly what
they're
doing here. Yes.
Exactly.
He among others, he's not the lone wolf out there, but he's the, I actually tweeted out, and it just dawned on me this morning because we have this photo at the top of the article on the Blaze. If you go look, and Nancy Pelosi is cradling his face in her hands and just giving him the most adoring. So I'm now calling him Pelosi's Precious, so rather than the Fixer. So I've changed his name as of today.
Yeah, he is. Okay, so what did he do at January 6th?
Well, what we believe through our contacts, our sources, whistleblowers, both named and unnamed, is that he did, in fact, organize. Now, this is what we've been told, is that he had paid agitators, I didn't say violent people, paid agitators because his expertise is controlling the narrative, like, Confederate flags being carried through the Capitol Rotunda, things of that nature. Now, the most interesting aspect of January 6th, I think everybody focuses on the violence. Everybody focuses. They pick their sides. The police started it. The Proud Boys started it. Pick your nefarious actors. The most interesting aspect of January 6th was the same organizers of the rally down at the Ellipse that day also organized the Jericho March on December 12th, just a month earlier, and then also organized the Million MAGA March on November 12th. Now, when I say organized, they pulled the permits for the stages and the speakers and all the people that were part of those, that weekend activities. But at all of those events, there was extreme violence. Antifa, BLM, Proud Boys knocking heads. Antifa was attacking old ladies and, elderly couples going back to their cars after attending the rallies. On the December 12th rally, a Proud Boy was critically injured. He was stabbed by an Antifa guy. And then suddenly on January 6th, the largest event of them all, by multiples larger, 0 counter-protesters. And
that was at the Ellipse, right? That was
anywhere. You saw no counter-protesters anywhere.
It's weird because I was just thinking, well, no, there were at the Capitol, but those are ones I've deemed not part of the movement. Right. You know what I mean? That I've looked at and went, there's no way that person is part of the movement. But they were acting like they were part of the movement.
That's correct. This is what his expertise is controlling the narrative. And what did Nancy Pelosi most famously say when she set up the committee? She said that this was to establish and preserve the narrative of that day.
And preserve the narrative.
That's an exact quote.
So what was the narrative that did he help design it? Did he just help execute it? What was his role in January 6th?
Both. He's a boots on the ground guy. One of our named sources in the article, Dustin Stockton, who has had a 15-year relationship with him going back to Occupy Wall Street days, counter movement to the Tea Party movement at the time. And so as a result of those two things, there was a lot of collusion between Stockton and Black during that time, over the years, all the way up until and through January 6th. And so one of the things that we learned is that Stockton had been told by Aaron Black that he was out of town on January 6th until Stockton saw a photo of him on the steps of the Capitol that day. And then, additionally, because he was very, very worried that he had been seen, he started reaching out to other people within our network and at security people and asking them about, he was very concerned about whether his comms had been caught in the geofence that day. Became very, very concerned about that. And these are stories that are coming to us through sources that you can't even believe. We're talking about Rolling Stone, Politico, other places.
I want to ask you. Let me take a quick break, and when we come back, I just want to know. I'm really excited at what Trump has been doing. I'm very, very excited what's happening. I'm a little underwhelmed, and I just said to Stu, put this on your calendar. A year from now, if we're not seeing things,
right,
then this is not strategy. I think it's strategy so far, but I've been underwhelmed by what's happening at the FBI and the DOJ, because that's critical to the rot that is in there and undoing the damage of the deep state. So, Steve, this is just part one of a series of articles that you're going to be doing. Now, in my world, this guy would be called in by the FBI, and they'd start questioning him. You know, what are you doing? What happened? You know, we haven't found even the pipe bomber yet. That's a little odd. Are you disappointed at all in Pam Bondi and what the FBI is doing? Do you think this is strategy, incompetence? Are they no different than the rest of them? What is happening there?
Glenn, we revealed a year and a half ago irrefutable proof that two federal officers perjured themselves in federal court, and nothing's ever happened about that either.
Yeah, but I only count from Pam Bondi getting in.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
And there should have been things like everybody else, every single other office that has been occupied, they had a list.
Yeah.
And they just went boom, 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 boom. She had it. She
yeah.
should have had that list. Where is that list? Does it exist? Right. Is there a reason for this hesitation?
Yeah, we see other department heads or other ministers that are steamrolling through their list right now. We're not seeing that there. I don't understand it, but I will tell you this: that connected to what we're working on, to the stories that we're working on related to January 6th right now, whether we're going back to those federal officers who perjured themselves, or we're talking about Aaron Black and this revelation here of somebody that needs to be investigated, I can tell you right now with all confidence that the blockade is coming from the GOP.
Why?
There are people in leadership in the GOP right now who are stopping and have been the obstructionists since day one, since the first committee, since Loudermilk subcommittee was working, the oversight subcommittee under House administration with the work he was doing. There were obstructionists at the top who were stopping him and blockading him. And now there's a new committee has been being formed, has been announced. An actual press release went out from the speaker. And now they're narrowing the focus of what they're even allowed to do down to the point where what's the point? And so there's some problems there.
Do you have the names? I know you're not going to give them to me on the air, but will you give me the names? Because I'll
talk to you about it off the air.
Yeah, please do.
The problem is that, let's just be perfectly honest, the establishment GOP did not want Trump in 2020.
I want the names.
They
I'm just thinking of the list.
participated in the election. We'll just say that.
I'm just sitting here thinking, what are the legal ramifications for me doing that? What are the ramifications that I'm thinking? Then I thought of you listening wherever you are, thinking, What are the ramifications if we don't get those names? Give me the names. I'll expose it.
We're going to get there.
Good. I hope so.
Yeah.
I hope so. Thank you so much. When's your next piece? Do you know if you got a next piece dropping on this?
I actually have to spend a couple more days here in Dallas, and then I've got to hit the road to talk to a couple more people for the next installment.
On the shooting of the president. Yeah. Is anything going to happen on that?
Again, we're going back to the same office, aren't we? You're asking the same question of the same office. What's happening at DOJ? What's happening at FBI? Now, today's Bongino's first day. Maybe he, unplugs the clog. I don't know. But
I can't believe that Kash Patel is part of that clog. I just can't. I could see him being told, back off, back off, back off. But I just can't see him being part of the clog. And I couldn't see Bongino doing that. Now, I don't know Pam Bondi at all, but there is a clog there, and it's got to be unclogged. And I'll tell you, this is the Achilles heel of the president. He may not know it. Most people may not know it. But this will be the Achilles heel to his supporters. If you don't go after even your own kind to clean this out, I really think Americans, even his own supporters, will go, Mr. President, I'm a supporter of yours on many, many things, but that one is too important. And if you don't get that one done, I don't know where I stand.
Right. Exactly.
Appreciative of what you are doing, but I can't count you as the revolutionary that I thought was going to fix our republic.
Yeah.
That has to be done. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Glenn.